Well, hey everybody, it's your good buddy 650 here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode of the new bike build series, Zak the Master Mechanic is going to completely replace, enhance, and upgrade our braking system on our 2023 BMW S1000RR. And he's also going to take us to school and show us how the braking system works on a modern motorcycle. He's going to set up a demonstration. You're not going to want to miss it. This is leading up to us offering this fantastic machine to one of you outstanding people viewing the video. Information on how you can win our 2023 Moto Million Spec S1000RR is always the first link in the description. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And for returning subscribers, tap that bell and you'll get notified when new content is uploaded. All right, I'm gonna leave this beautiful farm area and head over to Sills Motor Sales and watch Zak go to work. Our 2023 build bike is back on the bench.
Yup, and that can only mean good things, right?
Yes, usually.
Yeah, so we got this stack of awesome stuff for today. My favorite stack, Brembo pile.
Oh, yes.
With a Rizoma reservoir, of course. But we're gonna focus on these three boxes.
Okay.
Which are super cool. First time we've used it. If you look, we got Stylema black left. We have factory painted black calipers. So I don't think these were painted by anyone else. I think they came from Brembo this way. And they look really cool.
Oh, they do.
Great on our bike.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
Whew. And the Stylema caliper is nice because it's pretty light and it's a monoblock. It's all one piece, so it shouldn't distort under heavy braking at all because it's a solid piece of aluminum. The only thing that's a little goofy with the Stylemas is where the bleeder winds up at, but we use that on our brake line anyway. You just wind up with two bleeders on the caliper. It's not really a big deal. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get them installed, and that'll look and be a performance upgrade. And then our other part is definitely just a performance upgrade, and that's our 17 RCS Corsa Corda.
Beautiful, master cylinder.
So Brembo must recommend that 17 works with those Stylema calipers. Okay. And the 17 is what this bike runs stock now too, so that's the piston diameter. And then one other cool part came in our surprise box from Moto Million. We got an M1000 style front fender.
Oh, nice.
Built-in air cooling ducts.
I like those.
You can see right through daylight, so that should direct the air right at our awesome Stylema calipers. Now this will probably cover the caliper a little bit, so we'll have to see yay or nay whether this is staying. But if you look, there's your M bike. Yep. And it mimics it almost perfectly. It has an Alpha Racing sticker in here, so this must be part of their race bodywork for the race bikes. Okay. Old reservoir off. Yeah, so since we're doing both the master cylinder and the calipers, we're gonna go ahead and sump the brake system, which just means we're gonna take all the brake fluid out of it. So we start up top. As always, when working with brake fluid, I like to cover the TFT screen, even though we have a screen protector on it, and any painted parts. And you really want to keep that off the windscreen, because if it touches it, it's probably going to stain it faster than you can get it off. And our combatant for the brake fluid is a bottle of water. So if you go to do this yourself, make sure you got a bottle of water hanging around. That way, if it drips on the paint, you can just spray it off, and that'll give you plenty of time. Windshield's hit or miss if you can get it off fast enough. So now that's empty. Go to the farthest caliper away, which is this one. Open up our bleeder. More brake fluid we get out, the less we have to deal with getting all over the place. Then we go to the close caliper, same thing. Yes, this does go through the ABS box. So technically we've put air in the entire system, but it seems to bleed out fine. Now, this time I'll probably have to eat my words and it's gonna be a pain in the butt or something, but usually once we get the new parts on, we just bleed it out like a normal brake system and it all comes back. So hopefully that's the case again today. All right, so let's take a closer look at our calipers here. Let's see what we gain, what we lose. So definitely gain a lot of brake pad surface area. I see. Look how much longer that brake pad is. Yep. About the same thickness, same style setup, pinless, they just clip in. One cool thing with the stock Nissans is the cutout for cooling in the pistons. And it's also a monoblock, all one piece of aluminum. So let's just see what the weight difference is. I've got a rag up there, so it's just off 0, but it'll stay on for both. So we're at like 2, is that 2.5?
Yep, 2.5.
2.5. And 2.
Yep.
Half pound. So that's a pound between both of them.
That's amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yes.
And we're going to pull out the dowel pins on here, so that'll save a little. But kind of cool to know.
Very.
Always wondered. So saving half a pound, gaining some brake pad distance, which means you should have more friction, which should help you stop better. Same thing on the other side. Doesn't look like it's going to be as neat though. Found some more brake fluid somehow.
Ooh.
Not sure where that came from. You watched me suck it all out.
I know.
But that's what the rag's there for. Don't want to get it on those awesome wheels. Next, we're going to get the master cylinder off, and then we'll take 5-10 minutes and I'll show you guys how a brake system works, I guess, just for in case you don't know.
Oh yes.
Like what your brakes are doing, because Eve just stated that the fluid in here is for cooling. So
No.
we don't want the fluid to get hot, but it's not for cooling purposes.
Don't tell Steve Turner I said that.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's busy, he's not watching.
No, he's
Better not be, right, Steve?
No.
So as you can see, we don't really have any brake. That's because there's air in the system, and this won't push air, it only pushes fluid, which is what our brake fluid is. It's the fluid that this pushes. So literally when we push this, it's gonna compress this fluid all the way through the hose and make its way into the caliper, where it's gonna move these pistons out.
Ah, okay.
So once I get all the air out, that's what's gonna happen. And we should see a bunch of air come out right up here because it all gets trapped up at the top here.
Yep.
See all air, and then eventually we'll get some fluid. So if I squeeze this, we get a nice steady stream of fluid, which is what we want. Do it one more time. Big air bubble there. So we got the air out of that part of the system. I already sucked brake fluid through, so we just got to get air out of this part of the system, which we'll do by opening the bleeder. All right, so now we should be bled out, and what's going to happen is, so your rotor would be in here,
yeah,
but I think there's enough pad that this isn't going to blow apart. As I pump this, you can see our pistons move.
Yes.
And when they get to the point where they touch each other, which is where it'd be clamping a rotor, now this is very firm.
Yes.
So basically we'll use this screwdriver as the rotor. So as you're riding, which sometimes, say when you change your tire and you spread your brake pads out, you don't have a brake lever right away.
Yeah.
It's because look at this big gap. I have to take up this space right here. It didn't take up the space this time. Didn't take it up that time. Now it's just starting to take it up. And now I have a brake lever.
Yeah.
So when I push this, there's fluid, the fluid's coming from here, the fluid's in here. I'm literally trying to compress the fluid. That's why some brake fluid's better than other brake fluid. Like the Brembo brake fluid, the super expensive stuff, it's like $50 a bottle. I use it in the HP4 race. To me, it literally feels like I'm pushing steel ball bearings in those brakes, because that brake fluid's like so, at a molecular level, it must be like so thick.
Yeah.
And just, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but it just gives it an awesome feel. This brake fluid's good. Our key components of brake fluid is the boiling point. So this is a wet boiling point of 347 degrees Fahrenheit and a dry boiling point of 509. I don't remember enough chemistry to remember what the difference is between wet and dry.
Yeah.
Unless it's as simple as this is wet. So I would say this probably is flammable at 340 degrees. So we don't want our brake fluid to get that hot.
Yes.
And as it gets really hot, it will evaporate almost and turn into like a little mist. And that can introduce air bubbles in, which is why when you're on a track or something, you get brake fade. And that's what you're trying to, that's what keeping all this cool, keeping this whole caliper cool is gonna eliminate that brake fade, because our fluid's not gonna get hot. So in a way, you're right, the fluid kinda helps cool it, but you want a fluid with a high boiling point and a good feel to it. So yeah, so as you can see, it's gonna clamp. You can see our pistons moving inside the caliper here. And then when I'm holding it, I could pick up the caliper with the screwdriver here. And then when I let go, I can pull the screwdriver out super easy because it released. The pistons moved back just that little bit. So that's what we're doing in the brake system. All right, so hopefully after that little experiment, you get that you are a hydraulic pump in your brake system. When you squeeze the lever, it makes hydraulic forces, which is the brake fluid is the hydraulic fluid, which is squeezing your rotor. Hopefully that's what you got out of it. Now the next part of this job, which is kind of crummy, is we have to get these dowel pins out of the fork leg. Let's just make sure they didn't change the setup. No, because our caliper doesn't fit over the dowel pin. Brembos are a little universal so that they'll fit on any fork, fit on maybe a couple different bikes that have the same span, so they don't use the dowel pin. So the best way I found is to put a bolt in there that's about the same size and then clamp down on the bolt with a pair of vice grips. And you're gonna wanna use a bolt they don't have to reuse. It just gives you something to clamp, and then we can twist and we get the dowel pin right out.
Nice.
No muss, no fuss. Figured that out a couple years ago. BMW had a caliper recall when they tried to use Hayes calipers, and they all wound up leaking. So we had to change them to Nissan calipers, which at the time used a different one of these. So that side's done. One side to go. So we got our caliper fitted. That looks really good, right?
It's beautiful, man. Wow, Moto Million to the rescue yet again, making this bike unique and distinctive.
And as everyone should know, because we've done this before, we can't fully tighten these because now that we took the dowel pins out, we have to center our caliper. So to torque these bolts, we have to apply the brake lever. So we gotta wait till we get our brake system put back up for final tightening. So we got our 17 Corsa Corda installed onto the clip-on handlebar. When I lower the bike down, we can make any adjustment we need, but I'm gonna attach the brake line to it right now with new crush washers, of course. And then we just gotta rig up our Rizoma reservoir, which we've done time and time again, sometimes quickly, sometimes not. And we'll get some fluid in the system and bleed it out. And then we got the surprise fender at the end. We'll see how everything looks and plays together. We're getting close. Got the master cylinder reservoir linkage or mounting all tightened up and in its right spot. Just trying to get this clamped on the Tygon hosing here. So now we're gonna draw brake fluid back into the system and then we'll bleed it out.
Did we already go to the point where you determined if the ABS system needed to be bled or whatever?
No, we'll find out at the end by how good our lever feels.
Gotcha.
So currently we're just filling the system and then, like I said, we'll find out. If we can't get a good lever feel, that's when we know that there's air trapped in the ABS. All right, so now that I got brake fluid in the system, you can see there's still a little air gap there, but if I just squeeze this lever a couple times, we'll see the air come up because it's always trying to get to the highest point.
Oh yeah, jumps out.
That's what we don't want to do though. And we should start to get a brake lever feel. So right now it's filling the rest of the system because the level is dropping each time.
Yes.
So once it steadies off, we should get just a little bit of a brake lever and then we can go in for our final bleed, which I do by hand. Okay, so now we're at the point when I pump the lever, the fluid level isn't dropping. So we're just gonna go to our farthest caliper and open the bleeder, squeeze the lever, and we'll get air and fluid. And we wanna do this until it's only fluid. Sometimes you might get some little micro air bubbles still because it grabs air from around the threads of the bleeder. And while we're doing this, we gotta make sure that that fluid level doesn't drop too low because then it's gonna suck air in. And once we suck air in, you can't compress the air. So we can only compress the fluid. That's why we're getting rid of all the air right now because that's what makes your brakes feel crummy. Okay, so that looks good. No air bubbles there. Let's top off our fluid level. And then this is really nice because we got our bleeder up here. It's just a little tricky to do. All right, so we got our brakes bled out and I got the calipers tight. Sometimes at the end I like to just pop a zip tie on. I'm probably gonna cut this one off, but I put this on to tighten the calipers because that helped us center them. And then if you leave this sit, like even for just an hour or two, so what that does is it opens up this passageway so all the air can escape out to the top because that's where the air is trying to go anyway.
Yeah. And
sometimes we just can't get it by forcing that fluid around, so this will take care of that problem. Like I said, for now, I'll cut it so we can roll it around outside and stuff. And let's see what the brake lever feels like with the calipers being tightened anyway. Because it should have a really nice feel to it. And then we have tons of adjustment on this Corsa Corda master cylinder. I believe Moto Million has a whole video going over it, because this lever does something for street and race. It changes like your leverage pivot point. This, of course, adjusts for your hand. And then there's the third adjustment of actually the fulcrum that gives it either a more progressive feel or a more bitey feel. But yeah, we got a pretty good feel on brake lever. That's gonna feel better after we put a zip tie on it.
Oh, it does feel good.
There's just a little bit of mush in there feel. That'll be gone tomorrow.
Okay.
After we put a zip tie on it. But right now, let's get that super special fender on and see what it looks like. I like the fender for the fact that it has the brake cooling duct built into it. We don't have to put another piece between our caliper and the fork.
Yep.
It looks a little wide in my opinion, but it doesn't look bad by any means, that's for sure. It really changed the way the front of the bike looks.
Yes, but the whole bike's coming along great.
Oh, it is. I can't believe how much we've gotten done already.
Yeah, moving very quickly. A lot faster than the HPX build series, that's for sure.
And it's turning into quite the looker, it really is.
Yes.
I'm always a fan of black and red, but red and black works as well.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, that's what we got for you today. Installing some Brembo stylumas. Found out we should have dropped another pound.
Yep, we did.
So that's good.
Yep.
Made it up for the clutch cover, because we had half a pound or something from it.
Yep.
And so that's all good stuff every time we drop weight. And should have better feeling brakes. And hopefully you guys learned something about how the brake system works and I didn't confuse you.
No, you didn't. Thank you for the education, Zach.
All right. As always, had fun, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Thank you, Zach. Yeah, he did a fantastic job explaining how our braking system works on a motorcycle. Stay tuned for more useful information from Zak the Master Mechanic in all of our build series videos. This bike, we're leading up to offering it to one of you outstanding people for viewing these videos. Information on how you might be selected to win this motorcycle is always the first link in the description of my videos. You better join our Patreon family and you might just ride away on this sick, savage, beautiful motorcycle that's not nearly done yet. It's going to look more amazing than it does right now. All right, folks, thanks for viewing the video. You guys take care and we'll catch you next time on the 650 EB YouTube channel.